Hello everyone, welcome to my program. My name is Dr. Lee. I come from Bukit Mentojam in the northern part of Peninsular Malaysia. Right now I'm staying in Johor in a town called Kluang. So welcome everyone. As you know, I'm uploading videos of my book. This one, Level 2 in 2 languages. We call it Dui Bahasa, English and Bahasa Melayu. Okay, and of course this is the one and only, because I'm now halfway through my level 3 and I'm using total English, because I believe that those people who requested me to do in both languages, by the time I finish this book 2, I'm sure that you can be independent, then you can just depend on English alone, just one language. Before this, you requested was because you were at level 1. So of course, you know, you were still not very familiar. But now we are already in level 2 and I'm already, you know, going towards the end. This book has 40 lessons. We are already at 35, coming to the end. One more video and we are at lesson 36. So 4 more lessons and you would have finished 40 full lessons. Full 40 plus the beginning book 1, 38. So you would have done 78 lessons. So by now you should be okay. I'm sure you are. So that is why in my 3rd book I decided that just English would be enough. By now you should be more confident. Okay, for those of you who requested that I do it in both languages. So as you know, we are now at question text, lesson 35, the 4th video, exercise 6, page 102. 102 if you have this book. Alright? This is the one. We are doing this now. So let us look at the board. This time, I start with negative, then I go to the positive. What answer do I want? Negative. So negative, positive, negative. Or positive, negative, positive. And remember the last word, after the last word, there is a question mark. And the last word is a pronoun. You cannot, here you cannot say your cousin, or you cannot say the mechanic. You just say I, you, we, they, he, she, it. 7 pronouns all together, that's all. So you can see he, we, I, it, they, she, they, you, he, she, he. Pronouns. No names, nothing. Pronouns. So if the subject, it can be Miss Tan, Miss Wong, Mr. someone, okay, or the fisherman like here. Your cousin, you know, can, the subject. But the object must be a pronoun. I, you, we, they, he, she, it. 7 altogether. He doesn't go where? Fishing in the weekends. Does he? So you see, I start with doesn't. After the comma, it becomes does. And then this he moved to the back. Small letters. Now you remember this. You remember this. If you are writing, remember the comma and the question mark. I sometimes see students doing that. They don't put comma, they don't put question mark. Because they start with a sentence he. So they just cannot remember that they need to put a question mark. But you need to. You have to. So I say like this. What answer do I want? Yes or no? The answer is no. No, he doesn't. Why? Because I started asking with no. Okay, so why do I start asking with no? Because when I ask this question, I believe he doesn't do it. Or I know he doesn't do it. Or I feel he doesn't do it. Or I'm sure he doesn't do it. That is why I start with he doesn't. And then behind, I ask, does he? The answer that I want, follow the front. The forecast answer or the predicted answer is no. So when I start with no, doesn't, I want the answer to be no as well. This is the answer I expect. Okay? Your cousin doesn't like mangoes, does he? So doesn't after the comma becomes the opposite does. Your cousin. Remember I mentioned before. In English, when you mention a person and you don't tell us whether it is a male or a female, a man or a woman, our answer, we use he. We represent our answer with a male, with he. We don't use she. Okay, if we don't know the sex, we don't know whether it's a man or a woman, we use he to represent. So you can see here, your cousin. Well, cousin can be a male, can be a female, but you still use he because no sex is mentioned. Okay? Jamal doesn't like what? To watch television, does he? So Jamal is a man or a boy. So is he? Put it behind here, question mark. After the comma, doesn't change to does, the opposite. What answer do I want? No, he doesn't. Because I start with doesn't. I want the answer to be doesn't. And doesn't is a negative answer, so no, he doesn't. It cannot be yes, he doesn't. No, he does, cannot. Alright? We don't rear animals at home, do we? So here we move to the back we. After the comma, don't change to the opposite. Becomes do. Can you see that? We. This one is big letter, but because this is the back, so it should be a small letter. After the comma, don't becomes do. Bring it to the back. And this word we pronounce as rare, not real. Okay? Rare animals means you look after the animals. You keep the animal at home. Like a cat, for example. You give it food to eat. Drink. You look after it. You say rare. There is another pronunciation which is real. We don't say real because real means behind. If you are in science, if you are doing something to do with science, the back part is called the rear, the part behind. Like if you have four-legged animals, the back part, the last two legs and the back part, we call it the rear. If you are driving, you will know the rear mirror. It's the mirror for you to look behind. The rear mirror. You don't say rear then. You don't say rear mirror. You say rear mirror, the mirror behind. But this you don't say real, you say rear. Okay, rear when you're giving food, when you're keeping the animal, you rear the animal. I don't play the piano well, do I? So I move to the back, I also. Now remember this. I must be the capital letters wherever it is. You cannot say because it's at the back of the sentence, you change it to a small letter, no. Okay? And don't after the comma becomes do. Okay? What answer do I want? No, you don't. The answer that I expect is no because I started with don't. I started with a negative. So I want the answer to be negative as well. The moon doesn't come out in the daytime, does it? The moon. The moon is it. So put it behind here. After the word it, put a question mark. And doesn't, bring it behind the comma, it becomes the opposite. Does. What answer do I want? No, it doesn't. Because I start with doesn't. The answer that I expect, that I want is doesn't. And doesn't comes with no. Okay? It doesn't eat fish, does it? So doesn't change to does after the comma. It remains it. The only difference is that when you write it here, I is used in the big letter, capital letters. But if you put it at the back, it becomes a small letter. So after the word it, remember to put a question mark, especially if you are writing by yourself. You see or not? In my book, I have written almost all. All you have to do is to write two words. You see? Isn't it? Or does it? But when you are writing yourself, you have to remember that. You need to put a comma, and behind you need to put a question mark. I see this often actually. mistakes that people do when they write. They don't put the comma. I think because they just see that it's a sentence, it begins with a sentence. But then this is question text. You need to put a question mark. These cats don't come out. These cats don't belong to Puan Aisyah, do they? So these cats, you have an S there, it means many. So when it's many, you change to they. The pronoun is they, put it behind. And then don't change to do after the comma. Remember that. If you are writing by yourself, you need to put a comma. Then only you change to the opposite. Don't becomes do, do becomes don't. And then the first two words, you cannot put it behind these cats. You have to change to the pronoun. She doesn't wake up late, does she? So she, same, will become she, put a question mark. Doesn't change to the opposite, is does after the comma, after the comma. They don't cook at home, do they? Same, they becomes they, put a question mark. Don't becomes do, put the do after the comma, after the comma. Okay, what answer do I want? Yes or no? No, because I start with don't. So the answer that I want, the answer that I expect is no, they don't. Because I started asking don't. So why do I start with don't? Because I believe that they don't do it. Or I know they don't do it. I'm sure they don't do it. That's why I ask no first. Okay? Jailani doesn't swim in the river. Sorry, you don't have relatives in Vietnam, do you? So don't becomes do. But it must be after the comma. And then you move it to the back. Small letters, put a question mark. The answer that I want, no, I don't. Jailani doesn't swim in the river, does he? Jailani is a boy or a man. So becomes he. And then doesn't after the comma becomes does. What is the answer that I want? No, he doesn't. Negative, positive, negative. Miss Wong works hard, doesn't she? This is different. 13 and 14 are different from number 1 to 11. This time I start with positive. The back is negative. Answer positive, yes. So here, Miss Wong is she. Works got S, it means there is a does there. When you change it to the opposite, it becomes doesn't after the comma. And then Miss Wong becomes she. Move it to the back, put a question mark. That's it. What is the answer that I want? Yes, she does. The bus driver drives very fast, doesn't he? The bus driver, no sex is mentioned, so we assume it's a he. Okay, we use he to represent. Drives has an S, that means it does. Move it to the word, move it behind the comma, it becomes doesn't. What is the answer that I want? Yes, he does. Positive, negative, positive. Negative, positive, negative. The expected answer. The answer that I want. The answer that I expect. Follow the front, don't follow the back. Alright? So that's all. I've already finished this whole lesson. We have one more video to go, which is exercise 7 and exercise 8. So if you want to buy my books, book 1, book 2, or both. This book, I have one last copy, one more in stock. That's all, finished. But level 1, I still have. Okay, so after I have sold the last book, those who want to buy will have to wait. And if you want to learn speaking, you can go to my TikTok, to my Instagram. And I mentioned before, if you are interested, you have a group of people who want to learn from me, I can go to your place, but there must be enough people, including Sabah and Sarawak. I can go because I previously was in Sabah. Kota Kinabalu, Sandakan, before I came to Johor. So if it's just 1 or 2 persons who want to learn, or just yourself, then you, of course, you can also WhatsApp to me, and we can arrange for online class. Okay, so that's all. Remember to give me a like, share and subscribe, and I will see you again in the next video. Goodbye.